Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 every weekday afternoon, right after Guy Benson at 3 and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, and all your favorite podcast platforms. This hour, of course, will be following the shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the CEO and co-founder of Turning Point USA, who died after being shot earlier today in Utah at the age of 31. Certainly want to join in expressing our deepest sympathy and heartfelt heartbreak for the family of Charlie Kirk and all of his fans. As we just heard in the previous show, we'll be following the very latest headlines here and bring them to you as we get them. In the meantime, it was a record-shattering day on Wall Street once again today, with the Dow pulling back 220 points, but the S&P 500 and NASDAQ continued their record run. The S&P 500 up 19 at 6,532. The NASDAQ up 6.5 at 21,886. The price of gold kissing record highs today, hovering around 3,700. We'll talk gold later this hour with Barry Stuppler, founder of Stuppler & Company and Mint State Gold, former president of the American Numismatic Association. The other big story, Oracle, with blowout earnings news, lifting AI hopes, and including the stock, and had a blowout day for Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. It's been challenging Elon Musk for the top spot on the list of billionaires, the world billionaires. Elon Musk being challenged at the top of the list of the world's billionaires. Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, went up in net value today by about $100 billion as Oracle stock soared. I'll talk about that later this hour with Charlie Crumpley, editor of BillionaireReporter.com. But first, on your money, the markets and the economy. Let's get right to it with the biggest name on Wall Street right now, Dan Ives, top tech analyst at Wedbush, who this week also was named chairman of 8Go. It's getting a lot of attention with WorldCoin. Dan Ives, thank you so much for taking the call this afternoon.
Great to be here as always, Frank.
Well, first of all, on the Oracle story, we haven't seen anything quite like this, with somebody's value going up $100 billion in one afternoon.
Look, it's historic, right? I mean, it speaks to the AI revolution. Oracle is hitting, what I really view as its next stage of growth. And look, the Wall Street was really, I think, flabbergasted in a great way. But Frank, what this shows, the AI revolution is just hitting its next stage of growth.
Congratulations on your big announcement this week. Oracle stock, by the way, let's bring up the closing quote here. Close at 86 and change to 328.33, a gain of about 36%. And Larry Ellison counting his money this afternoon, and we'll be talking more about that later this hour. But you got a big announcement this week yourself, Dan Ives. Tell us about that. You become chair of the company that will buy Sam Altman's WorldCoin for its treasury. This is a trend that many companies are doing nowadays. Tell us what the folks need to know about that.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Super excited becoming chairman, of 8Co. And look, this is more of an AI tech infrastructure play, because it's everything that Sam's built with World that I view as what's going to be the core authentication and really the really huge layer that's going to play a major role in the AI build out over the coming years. So in terms of WorldCoin, and I think this is one where this is still very, very early days in terms of where this is all playing out. Super, super excited to be a part of it. Tom Lee, with Bitminer, they're an investor in this as well. Obviously, Sam, being heavily involved. So we're very, very excited about it.
Congratulations on that. Tell us what we need to know about WorldCoin.
Look, I mean, to me, WorldCoin, you can't look at it isolated. You have to look at it. It's related to the orbs. These are basically iris scanning orbs that Sam and Alex and the team have built. Already have 15 million users on it. I believe, right now, on pace to go to 100 million over the next year. This is going to be the de facto authentication proof of human in the next decade. And the coin world is related to that, because when you scan your eyes, you get a coin. And I think it's going to be a networked effect, very similar to with PayPal in the early days. And that's why, Frank, I'm doing this, because I view this as an AI infrastructure tech play.
On the line with Dan Ives, Wedbush Global Head of Technology Research, now also Chairman of the Board of Directors of the company that he's now leading, AITCO, and it looks like is the ticker symbol going to change on that? Is it tomorrow? Orbs? Is that going to be the
tomorrow? Tomorrow is when it become Orbs, and super excited about that. And we'll be over at NASDAQ, and I think this it's very what Michael Sauer's done with strategy, what Tom Lee's done with BitMonitor. Me and you have talked about that, and this is a treasury vehicle for world. And just, I think you're seeing this trend because what's essentially happening is AI and tech are at the intersection with crypto.
On their line with Dan Ives, and of course we've got a record here for the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 at a record high here today. The Dow pulling back a couple of hundred points. Interestingly, we're not seeing the cryptos at record highs. It's been widely discussed over the years that crypto is correlated very closely to the NASDAQ, and we see Bitcoin well off its all-time here now, just shy of 114, about 10,000 off its all-time high. What about the cryptos here, including Bitcoin?
I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, I think Bitcoin, you could be at 200,000 by year end. In terms of Ethereum, we think 12 to 15,000, and could be higher. And I think it just starts because what you're starting to see now is the institutionalization of these tokens, where institutions, the appetite is obviously global, and it comes really down to the use cases, especially when it comes to Ethereum, are just starting to build out.
All right, we see according to one report I'm seeing here, the SEC has delayed its decision on staking for Ethereum ETFs. We're following that story, as well as Solana hitting around 224 here. What are your thoughts specifically on Ethereum and Solana here?
Look, I think you're going to continue to see, obviously, strong demand here. You're starting to see more and more investor appetite for it. It's not stopping, Frank. In other words, I think this is one, it's really going to start to become an asset class. But I can tell you, when I look at it, it's really trying to look out, not just over the next year, but over the next 3-5 years, what this actually looks like. And I think we're talking about a new world that's going to be created, not just on decentralized when it comes to banking, but when it comes to everything that we're seeing with AI.
All right, we've gone this far without even mentioning NVIDIA yet. So much to pack in here. What about NVIDIA?
I mean, look, stocks sold off a bit. I think there's a $5 trillion market cap by year end. I mean, when you look at the Oracle numbers, that is a clear derivative beneficiary for ultimate NVIDIA. So that's why you can't, and we talk about our IVES AI 30, right, in terms of our report that we've talked about. You can't look at it in isolation. Oracle, what does that mean? It's bullish for NVIDIA. It's bullish for Microsoft. It's bullish for Palantir. Bullish for names like Nemesis and others. I mean, that continues to be the play.
Apple was the big story yesterday, overshadowed by Oracle with that new hardware rollout of the iPhone 17 and other products. The stock closed down more than 7 today to 226. What about Apple here, the announcements that we heard?
Look, I thought the announcement was good, right? I mean, I think the problem is that you're going to have a pretty good upgrade cycle, and I think that's probably enough where street estimates are conservative. But I think the bigger issue continues to be the elephant in the room, and that's AI. Because essentially, Frank, they're playing baseball without a shortstop. AI is that shortstop in terms of big tech, and that's a big part of the problem in this tech world. Whereas Apple's iPhone event, it was the market was essentially shut down for an hour. Now it's kind of a shrug the shoulder event.
All right, and Elon Musk overshadowed today by Larry Ellison. There's talk that Elon Musk will become the first trillion-dollar man. What about Tesla and Elon Musk here?
Obviously, they're good friends. I mean, look, they might have to battle this out in a tennis match to see who's the richest person in the world. But, I continue to think Tesla, especially with the new COM package, Musk is wartime CEO. This continues to be, along with NVIDIA, two of our best AI tech names over the next 3 to 4 years.
Well, fantastic, Dan. I know you got to jump off the line here. We'll be looking for you on the NASDAQ tomorrow. Best of luck with Orbs and everything else you're doing these days, and look forward to getting you back on the air as soon as possible.
Frank, I'm bringing that orb back to LA, and you're going to get scanned. Okay. See you, Frank. Okay. See you.
Dan Ives, thank you very much for joining us live here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. That is Dan Ives, who is the top tech analyst at Wedbush, who also now is the chair of the new company that's involved with Sam Altman, the WorldCoin-backed treasury, and that would be 8Go. And we'll be following that very, very closely as well. The big story today, Oracle stock soaring. Oracle stock moving sharply higher, making Larry Ellison the number one on the list of wealthiest people in the world. Larry Ellison topped Elon Musk as the world's richest guy after a net worth gain of more than $100 billion today. So Elon Musk, for a while anyway, lost his crown as the world's richest person, Larry Ellison, but then got it back. So it's they're running neck and neck here, according to the Forbes list, which we'll take a closer look at here coming up as well. And I'll be speaking to Charlie Crumpley, who's the editor of Billionaire Reporter, along with Matt Toledo, now at Billionaire Reporter. And we'll be getting a closer look at the wealthiest people in the world, including those who live right here in the City of Angels. The battle among billionaires for bragging rights as the world's richest person got heated with the surprising surge of Larry Ellison today in a very impressive surge, as a matter of fact. Just minutes after the stock market opened today, Oracle stock shot up by more than a third, enough for him to temporarily at least take the title from the longtime top spot holder Elon Musk and hand it to the software giant's co-founder. Elon Musk was back on top by the end of the day, as we see here now, and Oracle did give back some of its earlier gains. Tesla shares today moved up just 82 cents at $347.79. Let's bring up the closing number here on Oracle. It saw an eye-popping gain of $86.82 today, settling at $328.33 a share. It's moving slightly higher now, and after-hours trading up by about $3 at $330.99. Apple, on the flip side, pulling back more than 7 today, down $7.56 at $222.79. NVIDIA in the plus column today, up $6.57 at $177.33. The Dow came in for a closing loss today of 220 points, settling at 45,419. The S&P 500 extended its record-shattering streak up another 19 points at 6,532. The NASDAQ up 6.5 at 21,886. The Dow coming off its all-time high achieved yesterday, coming down by 220 points back to 45,491. Taking a look at the bond yields here now, the yield in the 10-year note, which impacts the fixed-rate mortgage rates, coming down some more today, down to 4.05%. It's widely expected the Fed will lower rates, the short-term rates, by at least a quarter percentage point, maybe a half percentage point. Might surprise that way next week, so we have a lot to talk about leading up to that big announcement next week when the Federal Reserve will come out with a statement on the economy, and then we'll have a full-blown news conference from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. That'll happen next week, and given the latest inflation readings, which have been coming in tamer than expected despite the tariffs, we could expect a surprise cut next week, at least a quarter point, maybe a half point. That's what folks on Wall Street are talking about. Taking a look at the cryptos now, we see a Bitcoin hovering up about $400 now at $114.50. Ethereum moving higher by $18 at $4,350. And Solana has had a big day on the upside today, up to around $224. Doge also participating in the bounce back here today at 24 cents. XRP at $2.98. Price of oil moving slightly higher today, up 8 cents. Right now it's $63.75, despite the latest upheaval in the Middle East, which, of course, we're following closely here as well. Oil prices rising this week, even though OPEC decided to hike output again in October. Oil prices moved up a bit today in the aftermath of Israel attacking Hamas leadership in Qatar. Also, President Trump asking Europe to impose tariffs. Oil prices moving higher following these latest developments. Let's take a look at the price of silver, which we have also noticed has been moving up lately, up 4 cents today at $41.64, something we'll be talking more about with Barry Stuppler, founder of Stuppler & Company and Mint State Gold, who'll be joining us in the next half hour. Platinum today, also in the spotlight, moving up by more than $4, back above $1,400 today at $1,402.20 an ounce. I'd like to thank Dan Ives again for joining us live here. He had to jump off the line a little bit earlier than usual. He's a busy guy. He'll be on the NASDAQ tomorrow to announce the change of the ticker symbol to Orbs. That's the company he just joined. 8Go will be the company in the spotlight tomorrow. And the Wedbush Securities' Dan Ives are now leading the crypto treasury strategy focused on WorldCoin, which is the native token of the blockchain used in OpenAI AI creator Sam Altman's identity startup WorldCoin. More companies, as you've probably noticed, have adopted the MicroStrategy playbook. Now it's called a strategy, not MicroStrategy anymore, of using debt financing and equity sales to buy and hold crypto to increase shareholder returns. World aims to authenticate humans. That's what he said, authenticate humans on its network, given the growing number of threats from artificial intelligence, such as deep fakes. We'll continue in just a moment here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Another record-shattering day on Wall Street with the NASDAQ powering up another 6.5 points, extending its record-shattering winning streak to 21,886. The S&P 500 up another 19 to a record-high close at 6,532. The Dow, which started the day at a record high, pulling back at the close today as some money came off the table. The Dow down 220 at 45,491. The yield in the 10-year note is back down to 4.05%. Good news if you're looking for a mortgage. It looks like the mortgage folks are getting busier these days. Even refinancing activity has seen a resurgence with mortgage rates at the lowest we've seen in about a year. Stocks moving mostly higher today with Oracle in the spotlight. Oracle with a blowout revenue forecast, lifting artificial intelligence hopes, as we just heard from top tech analyst Dan Ives from Wedbush. Oracle shares had their best day in more than 3 decades, it turns out. Meanwhile, the wholesale inflation number that came out this morning declined last month, and that is boosting the case for the Fed to cut rates next week by at least a 1/4 point, maybe a 1/2 point, some analysts are talking about. Oracle stunning Wall Street today in a pleasant way, as its CEO said its cloud revenue will skyrocket thanks to a big jump in bookings from the who's who of AI. Oracle shares did end the day up about 36% amid optimism that AI infrastructure build-out, which is seen as fueling stock gains, is finally picking up pace. Oracle stock moving significantly higher today at the close, and this sent Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, briefly to the top spot of the world's wealthiest, even overtaking Elon Musk for a while. But it looks like that list, the dust has settled now, and Ellison has moved back down the list with Elon Musk still on top. We'll take a closer look at that coming up here shortly. Elsewhere, the reading on wholesale inflation came in much cooler than expected, showing producer prices dropping on a month-over-month basis, despite expectations for a 0.3% increase. Over the past year now, the producer price index, which measures inflation at the wholesale level, was up 2.6%, also lower than expectations for 3.3%. Now, this sets the stage for the consumer price index. Will be coming out tomorrow. That's going to be the big focus, and that'll be the last piece of the puzzle prior to the Fed's big policy-setting meeting next week, which will wrap up with a decision on interest rates, a statement on the economy, and then a full-blown news conference from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. Markets have also been focused on the job situation with a revision of the job numbers that came out just yesterday, confirming weakness in the job market, and this cementing the belief that a September rate cut is coming, and we're seeing a rally in stocks ahead of that. Fed Governor Lisa Cook, meanwhile, likely to take part in that Fed rate decision next week after a federal judge blocked President Trump's effort to remove her from the Fed amid allegations of mortgage fraud. President Trump has targeted Cook in pursuit of lower interest rates as well. Today, President Trump urging the European Union to join the United States in imposing new 100% tariffs on India and China. The tariff hikes are meant to put pressure on Russia and President Putin there to participate in talks regarding ending the war in Ukraine. Tensions there are rising after NATO member Poland shot down Russian drones that enter Polish airspace in the last 24 hours or so. The price of gold up near record highs, pulling back a couple dollars now to $3,679 and change. We'll be talking gold coming up in the next half hour with Barry Stuppler, president of Stuppler and Company and Mint State Gold, and also former president of the American Numismatic Association. We'll discuss precious metals coming up here shortly. Price of oil, meanwhile, hovering just below $64 a barrel, moving up since the latest developments in the Middle East. Bitcoin hovering around 114 here at the moment. Ethereum, ETH, as we call it now, 4,346. Doge at 24 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KBC.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Everyone knows the legend of D.B. Cooper, but what if I told you there's an even better story out there? One with multiple aircraft hijackings, prison escapes, and so many twists and turns. I'm talking about the hit podcast, American Skyjacker, which is now an action-packed documentary coming to theaters and streaming this fall. Find out more at www.americanskyjacker.com and listen to our bonus episode of the podcast coming soon. American Skyjacker. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. Good afternoon. Stocks at or near all-time highs this week. Gold also at or near all-time highs. The fact the price of gold has more than doubled in the last 3 years now, driven by an increase in geopolitical concerns, economic and trade risk, all of which have spurred demand for gold and other safe haven assets. The price of gold, I'm looking at here right now, just below $3,700 an ounce. Silver's also seen a pretty impressive run-up. Platinum, too. Let's bring in the expert on all this, Barry Stuppler, founder of Stuppler and Company, based in Woodland Hills, also Mint State Gold, and also he's former president of the American Numismatic Association, expert on rare coins. Barry, it's always great to have you with us here. Good afternoon to you, sir.
This is an exciting time in the rare coin and precious metal industry. Our phones are ringing off the hook most of the day, and we're just tied up. And our website is getting just a load of new clients, new people interested in finding out about gold and silver. But it's been exciting times. Like you mentioned, gold is making record highs virtually daily now. It's hit, the spot price has hit around $36.65. It's currently trading around $36.40. And that's all pretty much fueled by new buying. And a lot of fresh buying, not necessarily in the United States. It's mostly in India, Turkey, Korea. There's a lot of concern about the dollar, and the concern about the dollar. Many central banks are dumping U.S. dollars in treasuries and buying gold. Gold now is reported to be the biggest asset that central banks have, and for years it was the dollar and U.S. treasuries. So what we're seeing now with all the concern about the geopolitical pressures that are going on and what's happening in terms of tariffs and everything else, a lot of central banks and a very large amount of financial institutions, and a number of them in India and South Korea, are starting to move away from the dollar and are starting to buy gold, and they don't care. They just pay whatever the price is, and the more you have, the higher the price you'll pay. Otherwise, if you can sell them tons of gold, they'll pay a premium over the spot price. So I've never seen this happen before. It's a unique experience, and all the calls I get from some of my friends and contacts outside the country tell me that it doesn't look like it's going to slow down. But domestically, next week we have the Federal Reserve at their meeting, and that's going to possibly fuel gold over 3,700, because if they cut interest rates a quarter, and even if a 0.5% cut in the Fed funds rate happens, we could see gold run to 3,800. I still think it's going to be at least 4,000 by the end of the year. As far as silver, because you asked about silver, silver's just enjoyed the ride. It's currently over $41. That's a bigger increase for the year than gold, and a lot of demand for silver. Premiums have come down domestically on some of the popular silver items, but worldwide the demand for silver, because I think a lot of people that are in gold don't want to pay $3,700, so they buy silver at $41. So there's a lot of interest there. Platinum, you asked about platinum and palladium sometimes. It's not really going with this rally. It's up, but not anywhere near the percentage-wise that what we've seen in gold and silver. So there's interest there, but it just hasn't taken off yet. The interest primarily is in gold and silver.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. On the air live with Barry Stuppler, founder of Stuppler & Company and Mint State Gold in the Valley, also former president of the American Numismatic Association. I know you're super, super busy, so I appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, the expectation here next week, you mentioned the Fed meeting, and I mentioned it here too, the probability of a 0.25% decrease is now just about 90%, and there's also about an 11% probability of a more aggressive 50 basis point cut, a half percentage point cut in the Fed funds rate, which impacts the short-term loan rates, including credit cards and home equity lines of credit and so forth. So we're going to be watching that Fed move, and you'll be watching it too. Do you think we're in for a big move in gold next week?
Yes, I think the PPI was shown, that's the producer price index, was shown today to be down. They expected it to be higher. That's going to help and increase the odds that they're going to lower interest rates by a half a point. But we'll see. It's either going to be a quarter or a half a point. Either one of them will definitely help the price of precious metals.
All right. What are people clamoring for? What kind of calls are you getting these days? Of course, you have the American gold and silver offerings, and we have gold and silver coins from around the world. What's trending nowadays?
Well, the more popular coins in the U.S. are the American Gold Eagle, the American Gold Buffalo. Worldwide, the Maple Leaf is popular. The Cougaran is popular. Some of the Chinese pandas are popular. For people that like the pre-33, which has some benefits, they like the Sovereign, the Swiss Helvetia, the French Rooster, the French Angel. All those are smaller coins, and obviously for some people more affordable because they're not 1 ounce sizes. They're about a quarter to a fifth of an ounce, and they're more negotiable if you ever wanted to trade them in. So we're seeing popularity there. But it's just a strong amount of demand, nothing I've ever seen before. And, well, I've seen demand before, but nothing like this. And particularly all the real strength is coming from outside the country because of the concern of the longevity of the dollar being the world reserve currency. That's where the real concern is. I have an article on my website, last week's weekly market report. I explain it all. If you go to Mint State Gold, go to Investor Education, under the weekly market report, there's a great article there, and I explain what the long-term focus for the people, for the central banks and financial institutions that are buying gold now.
Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention, and certainly you've seen gold bull runs in the past. How long have you been doing this now, Barry? I remember back in, 1980 when we had that big move on the upside for gold, and that record held for decades, right? And then, of course, during the financial crisis, we saw another move in gold to around 1,000, and then during the pandemic, there was renewed interest in precious metals, and now this thing is really taken off.
Yeah, I've seen some good percentage-wise moves since 1970, or 71, when the gold cap was taken off, and we saw it go from $35 an ounce up to $100, and then over a short period of time till 1980, that's when it got to $800. That was like a wow. I mean, that was incredible. Now we're at $3,600. I mean, God, it's just a lot of my old-time clients, and I've been doing this now for about 60 years, and I have a lot of clients that bought from me 30, 40, 50 years ago that are just tickled pink of how much gold they have and how much of a profit they've made.
Let me ask you the question that we asked during the financial crisis when we saw that run up last time around. If it goes to, say, 5,000, would you sell?
I get that question probably 3 to 5 times a week from clients who have had gold, even when it was $1,000. And what I tell them is, if you have a use for the money, if you're planning a vacation, it's a health reason, you're putting your kids through college, you have a wedding, you have some issues that's important to you, then sell it. Other than that, it's going higher. Even at $5,000, it's going higher. The dollar is coming down in value, and what you're seeing it reflect this in the gold price. And if you read the article I mentioned, if the dollar gets replaced by the Chinese yuan as a world reserve currency, then we could wake up one morning and see gold at $10,000. You're just looking at, you have to understand, you're Americans, you're looking at the value of gold in dollars. Europeans look at it in euros, and obviously Chinese look at it in yuan, and Japanese look at it in yen. So it's a world currency. But if the dollar gets replaced, like the article talked about, if that's possible, if that happens, then $10,000 gold is not out of line.
Barry, thank you very much for that thorough assessment as always. Barry Stuppler, founder of Stuppler & Company and Mint State Gold at mintstategold.com, also former president of the American Numismatic Association. Thank you very much for joining us live here on 790 KBC.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Ever wonder how dark the world can really get?
Well, we dive into the twisted, the terrifying, and the true stories behind some of the world's most chilling crimes.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Nicole.
Together, we host Wicked and Grim, a true crime podcast that unpacks real-life horrors one case at a time.
With deep research, dark storytelling, and the occasional drink to take the edge off,
we're here to explore the wicked
and reveal the grim. We are Wicked and Grim.
Follow and listen on your favorite podcast platform.
Mottek On Money continues. 790 KBC, $100 billion right in his pocket. Larry Ellison, billionaire Larry Ellison, taking the top spot on the world's billionaire list for a while today. The battle among billionaires heated up today. For a while there, Larry Ellison surpassed Elon Musk as the world's wealthiest person. Looks like it's not much of a difference here now, according to some calculations. But Larry Ellison's stock, Oracle stock, skyrocketed today by nearly $87 at the close to $328 and change. Got as high as $345 and change during the trading day, and that put him at the top of the list for a while. Keeping track of all this very, very closely is Charlie Crumpley, the editor of BillionaireReporter.com. Perfect time to be reporting on billionaires with news like this. Charlie Crumpley, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Frank. Good to hear from you.
Wonderful to have you with us here. Tell us what we need to know about this epic story here today with somebody's value shooting up by more than $100 billion in one day.
Yeah, that's a good day, isn't it? Larry Ellison's net worth went up by, as you pointed out, more than $100 billion today. It settled down a little bit at the market close, but it looks like he still ended up at about $100 billion for one day, which, needless to say, is the best day anybody has ever had in the history of the earth. As a result, he gets, as you pointed out, he got very close to Elon Musk for taking over the number one spot for the world's wealthiest person. Right now, as you know, two sources value wealth. One is Bloomberg, the other is Forbes. They have a little different way in the way they calculate wealth. But Bloomberg has it right now. I'm looking at it. Musk is $384 billion in net worth. Ellison is right behind him at $383. So he's only off by $1 billion, certainly within striking range of Elon Musk. Now, Forbes has it a little bit wider. It, like I said, it values their net worth a little differently, and it looks like Musk is at 436 and Ellison at 405. That was a little earlier in the day, but nonetheless, Larry Ellison has had a great day.
On there live with Charlie Crumpley, editor of BillionaireReporter.com. Very exciting day, and we see Oracle stock having that big day, closing up nearly $87. Tesla was up just 82 cents today at $347 and change. And of course, Elon Musk's wealth is largely tied to Tesla stock. There's been discussions here recently that Elon Musk could become the first trillionaire. What do you think of that possibility anytime soon?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, but yeah, he is in position to do that. As you know, he's got a number of companies, and he's being, well compensated for his holdings. He's been given a lot of stock, and he's got some proposals to get even more. So it's possible he could do it. I wouldn't bet on it by year's end or anything like that, but it is possible he could become the world's first trillionaire. But right now, it looks like Larry Ellison might challenge him for that.
Isn't that something? On the line with Charlie Crumpley at billionairereporter.com, and we have quite a few billionaires here in the Los Angeles area. Give us an update on how that list is looking these days.
Yeah, well, it just as luck would have it, Forbes just came out with its latest list of the wealthiest 400 people in America, and so I was just going through the list and looking at pulling out Angelenos who are on the list, and tops on the list for Angelenos is Peter Thiel. He has $24.9 billion. Of course, he was one of the so-called PayPal mafia. Speaking of Elon Musk, he and Elon Musk got their start with PayPal years ago. And Peter Thiel was so influential in Silicon Valley, but moved to Los Angeles, several years ago. But he's at the top of the list for Angelenos with, like I said, close to $25 billion. Next is Eric Smith, the Harbor Freight founder and CEO. He's got almost $18 billion. Looks like Anthony Ressler of Apollo Global Management, the private equity firm. He comes in third at $13.8 billion. And John Tu, the Kingston Technologies guy, he lives down in Palos Verdes Estates area, and got $13.8 billion. Another kind of fairly new entrant to the list of Angelenos is Marika Mars. She has about $10.5 billion. She's one of the four great grandchildren of the founder of the Mars Candy Company, and she moved to Los Angeles several years ago, and so she's now on the list. And then we also have, just go through them quickly, with Tom Gores of Platinum Equity, David Geffen, Lindsay Snyder is still listed in Los Angeles, although, as you know, she's decamping for Tennessee. She's, of course, the head of In-N-Out Burgers, but she's still here in Glendora, and she's on the list, along with Don Hankey, the auto subprime loan guy, Michael Milk and Ed Roski of Majestic Realty, and Steven Spielberg, a name you may know.
All right, and then Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong also had topped that list in years past, and certainly Rick Caruso must be up there as well.
Yeah, Patrick Soon-Shiong is, now this is Forbes' list, and Forbes has never valued Patrick's wealth as highly as some others did. They put him right now at $5.6 billion. He's kind of down on the list, but he's still on the list. He's still a substantial guy with more than $5 billion, but he's well off from the $20 billion plus that a lot of other folks have valued his wealth at, including the Los Angeles Business Journal, where I used to be associated with them, and we used to value his holdings at well over $20 billion. But Forbes does not see it that way.
Very interesting. Anything else trending in the billionaire world these days that you've been reporting on?
Yeah, well, we have a couple of on our website. We have a national perspective, but on our website we have a couple of stories of LA billionaires that your listeners may be interested in. One is on Steve Ballmer. I'm sorry, the owner of the Clippers. He's on the hot seat now for a contract issue with Kawhi Leonard, the star player, and the NBA has started an investigation into that. We also had a story not long ago about Don Hankey, who I mentioned, the subprime loan billionaire. You might remember a year or so ago, he was the one who bailed out President Trump, or then candidate Trump, by giving him a bond that would help cover the $436 million assessment that Letitia James in New York had prosecuted him on, and Don Hankey stepped in and gave him a bond so that he would, Trump wouldn't have to forfeit his properties. And it looks like, with the judge's ruling recently that Trump was not obligated to pay that money, it put Don Hankey off the hook. So he was relieved about that. And we have there are still a lot of Los Angeles billionaires on the list.
Sure.
For sure.
Charlie, thank you very much for that thorough update here on the big news today with the change of the top there at the Billionaires list. Charlie Crumpley, editor of BillionaireReporter.com, based right here in Los Angeles. Thank you very much for joining us live here. And in just a moment, we'll be hearing the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang. I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow here on 790 KBC.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.